The descent onto PX for 27 felt like stepping into a dream, or perhaps a nightmare wrapped in beauty. From orbit, the planet shimmered beneath layers of emerald clouds, its surface dotted with sprawling forests that glowed softly under twin suns. It was unlike anything Earth had ever seen, a world teeming with potential for scientific discovery. But as the landing pod touched down, the reality of this alien Eden began to reveal itself. The air outside smelled sweet, almost intoxicating, but carried an underlying tang of something metallic. Vines slithered across the ground like living serpents, retreating when disturbed but watching hungrily from afar. Trees stretched impossibly tall, their bark adorned with luminous patterns that pulsed in sync with some unseen heartbeat. Every leaf seemed to whisper secrets older than time itself. For the team of 5, this mission represented not just exploration but survival. Their ship had suffered critical damage during entry, leaving them stranded until repairs could be completed remotely. Each member brought unique skills to the table: biologists, engineers, and combat specialists trained for encounters with unknown threats. Yet none of them anticipated how quickly the planet would turn against them. Within minutes of disembarking, the first signs appeared. A vine lashed out unexpectedly, wrapping around an unattended toolkit and dragging it into the underbrush. The act was swift, deliberate, and chillingly intelligent. This wasn't random flora, it was hunting. As they surveyed their surroundings, the weight of isolation settled over them. The nearest human outpost was light years away, and communication with Earth was spotty at best. Every decision mattered now, every misstep potentially fatal. Despite the danger, there was a strange allure to PX for 27. Its vibrant colors and intricate ecosystems hinted at untold mysteries waiting to be unraveled if they survived long enough to explore them. The team set up temporary camp near the landing site, scanning the area for resources and assessing potential hazards. Initial readings suggested the planet harbored abundant water sources and mineral deposits, crucial for repairing their ship. However, accessing these resources required venturing deeper into the forest, a prospect made increasingly daunting by the aggressive behavior of the local wildlife. Even the smallest creatures displayed alarming levels of intelligence, coordinating attacks in ways that defied natural instinct. By nightfall, the team realized they were being watched not just by predators, but by the environment itself. Plants shifted subtly whenever they moved, as though reacting to their presence. The biologist noted unusual electromagnetic activity emanating from certain tree species, speculating that they might serve as sensory organs for the ecosystem. Whatever governed this planet, it was far more complex than anyone had imagined. Pushing deeper into the forest revealed wonders beyond imagination. Bioluminescent flowers opened wide as they approached, releasing spores that danced lazily in the humid air. Streams of liquid crystal flowed through translucent roots, refracting light into rainbows that painted everything in ethereal hues. For a moment, awe overshadowed caution. The biologist knelt to examine a peculiar mushroom-like growth, her gloved fingers brushing its surface. Instantly, the organism recoiled, emitting a high-pitched shriek that reverberated through the trees. Birds, or what passed for birds here, took flight en masse, their wings casting jagged shadows over the group. It became clear that nothing on PX for 27 existed passively. Even the soil shifted uneasily beneath their boots, as though alive. Every movement triggered reactions, leaves curling inward, branches twisting toward intruders, and soft growls emanating from hidden predators. Despite the hostility, there was undeniable intelligence at play. Patterns emerged in the behavior of the flora and fauna, suggesting coordination rather than instinct. Was this ecosystem working together to protect itself? Or were they witnessing the first stages of an attack? The team pressed onward, driven by necessity. Resources were limited, and staying near the landing site posed too great a risk. As they moved, they documented everything: plant samples, animal tracks, and environmental anomalies. But each new discovery came with fresh dangers. A patch of seemingly harmless moss erupted into a flurry of barbed tendrils when stepped on, forcing them to retreat hastily. Every step forward felt like walking blindfolded through a minefield. One particularly harrowing encounter involved a cluster of carnivorous plants resembling oversized pitcher traps. Drawn by the scent of decaying matter, the team approached cautiously, only to trigger a coordinated ambush. The plants sprang to life, their gaping maws lined with razor-sharp teeth snapping shut mere inches from their legs. Plasma rifles barked in response, reducing the flora to smoldering husks. But the victory was short-lived. Within moments, swarms of insect-like creatures descended, attracted by the commotion. Their stingers injected venom that caused excruciating pain and rapid swelling, forcing the team to retreat once again. Despite the setbacks, the biologist made a startling observation. Many of the organisms they encountered shared similar neural pathways, connected by thin, vein-like structures embedded in the ground. These networks seemed to facilitate communication and coordination across vast distances. Could PX 427's entire ecosystem function as a single, interconnected entity? If so, understanding its core might hold the key to surviving and escaping. Night fell abruptly, plunging the forest into darkness save for the faint glow of its inhabitants. The team set up camp near a clearing, their portable lights carving out a fragile bubble of safety amidst the encroaching wilderness. Exhaustion weighed heavily on them, but sleep was impossible. Strange noises filled the air, hisses, clicks, and low rumbles that seemed to come from all directions. Then came the first assault. A massive creature resembling a cross between a wolf and a centipede burst from the shadows, its segmented body covered in razor-sharp spines. It moved with terrifying speed, targeting the engineer who barely managed to dive out of the way. Plasma rifles barked in response, illuminating the beast in flashes of blue energy. Its screech echoed deafeningly as it retreated, leaving behind trails of acidic blood that sizzled where it touched the ground. Shaken but alive, the team regrouped. They realized too late that their presence had disrupted the delicate balance of this world. Whatever harmony existed among the flora and fauna now viewed them as invaders, and invaders must be eliminated. The attack left them shaken, their confidence shaken. No one spoke aloud, but the silent agreement hung heavy in the air. They needed a plan, and fast. Survival depended on understanding not just the individual threats, but the system governing them. Over the next few hours, the team fortified their position, setting up perimeter alarms and deploying automated turrets scavenged from the ship. Each member took turns keeping watch, their eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. Sleep came in fleeting bursts, interrupted by false alarms and sudden attacks. By morning, fatigue had taken its toll, etching deep lines into their faces and dulling their reflexes. Yet amidst the chaos, fragments of hope remained. Data collected during the night hinted at vulnerabilities in the planetary organism's defenses. Certain frequencies of sound disrupted plant activity, while intense bursts of light temporarily blinded animal predators. These discoveries offered a glimmer of optimism, but also raised troubling questions. Why did this planet fight so fiercely against outsiders? What secrets lay hidden beneath its shimmering surface? Survival required adaptation. Over the next few hours, the team analyzed their surroundings with renewed urgency. They noticed subtle changes in the environment whenever they moved, plants bending slightly to follow their path, insects swarming in greater numbers, even the wind shifting unnaturally. It was as if the planet itself was learning about them, studying their weaknesses. Using handheld scanners, they identified weak points in the ecosystem. Certain species reacted violently to specific frequencies of sound, while others withdrew entirely when exposed to intense light. These observations led to makeshift defenses, portable speakers emitting disorienting tones, and modified flashlights capable of blinding attackers. Still, such measures offered only temporary reprieve. The true challenge lay in understanding the root cause of the aggression. Why did this planet fight so fiercely against outsiders? While experimenting, they stumbled upon another unsettling truth. The flora and fauna weren't merely reacting to their presence. They were evolving. Plants grew thicker thorns overnight, and animals developed tougher hides. The planet was adapting faster than they could keep up, forcing them to constantly rethink their strategies. Every victory felt fleeting, every safe zone temporary. Hope dwindled with each passing hour, replaced by the gnawing certainty that PX 427 was determined to win. Desperation fueled innovation. The engineer rigged a device capable of emitting electromagnetic pulses designed to disrupt the neural networks connecting various organisms. Early tests showed promise, briefly stunning nearby plants and animals. However, using the device required precise timing and positioning. Any mistake could attract unwanted attention. Trust eroded further as tensions mounted. Everyone knew that failure meant death, and no one wanted to be the weakest link. Despite the mounting pressure, small victories kept them going. A successful EMP blast cleared a path through dense foliage, allowing them to access a freshwater stream. Another pulse disabled a swarm of predatory insects moments before they attacked. Each triumph, no matter how minor, reignited their resolve, if only for a little while longer. As dawn broke, the team ventured further, hoping to locate resources needed for repairing their ship. What they found instead defied explanation. Deep within the forest stood a colossal tree-like structure, its trunk adorned with intricate carvings that pulsed with inner light. Surrounding it were smaller organisms connected by thin, vein-like tendrils stretching across the ground. These weren't mere plants. They were nodes in a vast neural network, communicating and coordinating attacks. The realization hit hard. PX 427 wasn't just a planet. It was a single, sentient entity. Every plant, animal, and microbe served as extensions of its will, united in defending itself from perceived threats. This knowledge changed everything. Escaping wouldn't simply involve outrunning predators. It meant confronting the very consciousness driving them. The central hub radiated power, its luminescence casting eerie shadows across the landscape. The team hesitated, torn between awe and terror. Could they disable this core without triggering catastrophic retaliation? Or would their attempt unleash horrors beyond comprehension? Time was running out, and the choice loomed large. Further analysis revealed that the hub acted as both brain and heart for the planetary organism. Disabling it would sever the connection between the central intelligence and its physical extensions, rendering the ecosystem inert, at least temporarily. But reaching the hub required navigating treacherous terrain guarded by increasingly aggressive defenders. Each step closer brought new challenges: collapsing bridges formed by intertwined roots, acid-spitting flowers, and ambushes by pack-hunting quadrupeds. The biologist proposed a risky strategy: use EMP devices to overload localized sections of the neural network, creating temporary dead zones where the organism's control weakened. This would allow them to advance incrementally, disabling smaller nodes along the way. While theoretically sound, the plan relied heavily on precision and teamwork. Any misstep could doom them all. Days turned into nights, each worse than the last. Supplies dwindled, morale plummeted, and injuries mounted. One team member succumbed to infection after being grazed by a venomous thorn. Another narrowly avoided being swallowed whole by carnivorous moss. Paranoia spread like wildfire. Every rustle of leaves, every shadowy figure glimpsed through foliage, sent hearts racing. Trust eroded as exhaustion took its toll. Yet amidst the chaos, fragments of hope remained. Data collected during their ordeal hinted at vulnerabilities in the planetary organism's defenses. If they could disable key nodes in its neural network, they might weaken its control over the local wildlife long enough to reach their ship. But doing so would require venturing deeper into enemy territory and risking everything. Each decision felt heavier than the last. Should they split up to cover more ground or stay together for mutual protection? Could they trust their equipment to hold up under constant strain? The questions piled up, unanswered, as fatigue clouded their judgment. Only sheer willpower kept them moving forward, step by agonizing step. Morale reached its lowest point when a routine scouting mission went horribly wrong. Two members ventured ahead to scout a potential route, only to be ambushed by a previously unseen predator, a towering insectoid creature with multiple limbs and a prehensile tail tipped with a venomous stinger. Their screams echoed through the forest as the rest of the team scrambled to rescue them, arriving too late to save one. The loss shattered whatever cohesion remained, leaving the survivors fractured and demoralized. Yet even in despair, resilience flickered. The engineer devised a new weapon, a compact flamethrower powered by fuel cells scavenged from the ship. Though crude, it proved effective against the more resilient plant life. Combined with EMP pulses, it created openings in the dense undergrowth, allowing them to push forward inch by painstaking inch. Progress was slow, painful, and fraught with peril, but progressed nonetheless. Strategizing became paramount. Armed with new insights, the remaining crew devised a plan to infiltrate the central hub, the massive tree-like structure they discovered earlier. Using explosives rigged to emit electromagnetic pulses, they hoped to disrupt the neural connections linking the various components of the organism. Timing was crucial. Any misstep would alert the entire system, bringing overwhelming force down upon them. Preparations were meticulous. Weapons were checked, gear reinforced, and escape routes mapped out. Though fear lingered in their eyes, determination burned brighter. Failure wasn't an option, not when the alternative meant becoming permanent fixtures in this alien hell. The team divided responsibilities based on expertise. The biologist focused on identifying weak points in the neural network, while the engineer fine-tuned the EMP devices for maximum impact. Meanwhile, the combat specialist coordinated defensive tactics, ensuring everyone knew how to respond during ambushes. Trust had been shaken, but necessity forced them to rely on each other once more. As they prepared, the atmosphere grew heavier. Each member wrestled with personal demons, guilt over lost comrades, fear of failure, and the crushing weight of isolation. Yet amidst the turmoil, a fragile unity emerged. They shared stories of home, memories of Earth, and dreams of returning to familiar skies. These fleeting moments of connection reminded them why they fought, to reclaim not just their lives, but their humanity. By the time they set out, the plan was clear. They would move in staggered waves, using EMP bursts to disable nodes along the way. Progress would be slow, deliberate, and fraught with danger, but it was their only chance. The journey to the central hub tested their resolve to the breaking point. Every step forward felt like walking through quicksand, resistance growing stronger with each meter gained. Plants twisted aggressively, attempting to ensnare limbs. Creatures lurked in the periphery, their glowing eyes tracking every movement. The air grew thick, oppressive, making breathing labored and thought sluggish. Despite the mounting pressure, the team pressed on. Each member carried a piece of the puzzle, their roles interlocking like gears in a machine. The biologist monitored plant activity, predicting ambushes before they happened. The engineer adjusted the EMP devices, ensuring they functioned perfectly. Meanwhile, the combat specialist kept watch, ready to neutralize any immediate threats. But the closer they got to the hub, the more erratic the environment became. Ground tremors shook the earth, and the pulsing lights of the neural network intensified, casting hypnotic patterns that threatened to overwhelm their senses. Doubt crept in. Was this truly the right path? Or were they walking straight into a trap laid by the planet itself? Every decision now carried monumental weight. A wrong turn could mean death for all of them. Yet, as fear gnawed at their resolve, they clung to one truth. Giving up wasn't an option. Not when survival was still within reach. Their first major test came when they encountered a gauntlet of carnivorous vines stretching across their path. Triggering an EMP pulse disabled the plants momentarily, but the delay allowed a pack of insectoid predators to close in. Plasma rifles roared as the team fought back, their movements fueled by adrenaline and desperation. When the skirmish ended, the ground was littered with charred remains, and the survivors bore fresh wounds. Yet, despite the losses, they pushed forward. The hub loomed ahead, its luminescent glow piercing the gloom like a beacon of hope and doom. As they neared the central hub, the forest transformed into something even more alien. The trees here were grotesque hybrids of organic material and crystalline structures, their surfaces shimmering with iridescent hues. Between these monolithic forms stretched webs of fibrous tendrils, pulsating faintly as if alive. These tendrils acted as sensors, or perhaps barriers, warning the planetary organism of intruders. The team moved cautiously, avoiding contact with anything unfamiliar. But avoidance alone wouldn't be enough. One misstep triggered a cascade of defensive mechanisms. Tendrils shot out like whips, wrapping around ankles and pulling people toward the ground. From above, thorn-covered vines descended, aiming for exposed flesh. Panic surged, but training took over. Plasma rifles roared, severing the tendrils while others hacked away with knives. It was clear now, the planet knew they were coming. Its defenses had escalated, becoming more aggressive and coordinated. What once seemed random attacks were part of a calculated strategy to wear them down. Each skirmish left them battered, bruised, and increasingly desperate. Supplies dwindled further, and morale teetered on the edge of collapse. Still, they pushed forward, driven by the hope that disabling the hub would grant them salvation. A particularly harrowing encounter occurred when the team stumbled into a clearing filled with bioluminescent fungi. The spores emitted a hallucinogenic gas that disoriented them, causing vivid hallucinations and impaired judgment. For several agonizing minutes, they turned on each other, mistaking comrades for enemies. Only sheer willpower snapped them out of it, leaving them shaken but determined to press on. Each step forward felt like a battle against both the environment in themselves. Yet, somehow, they persevered. Reaching the base of the central hub felt like stepping into another dimension. The colossal tree-like structure loomed above them, its bark glowing with intricate patterns that shifted and changed like living circuitry. Around it swarmed countless smaller organisms, some resembling insects, others amorphous blobs of bioluminescent matter, all connected by those same vein-like tendrils. The team regrouped briefly, assessing their options. The entry point was guarded by what appeared to be a wall of dense, pulsating vegetation. Cutting through it would require precision and timing. One wrong move could trigger an overwhelming response from the entire system. They activated their EMP devices, setting them to emit low-frequency pulses designed to confuse and disorient the neural network temporarily. For a few precious moments, the pulsing lights dimmed and the surrounding organisms froze mid-motion. Seizing the opportunity, the team charged forward, hacking through the weakened barrier. Progress came at a cost. Several members sustained injuries as dormant plants suddenly reanimated, lashing out with unexpected ferocity. Blood stained the ground, mingling with the acidic secretions of severed tendrils. Exhaustion clawed at their minds, but adrenaline kept them moving. Breaking through was only half the battle. Inside awaited unknown dangers and no guarantee of success. The air inside the hub hummed with energy, vibrating against their skin like an unseen force. Shadows danced across the walls, cast by shifting light sources that defied logic. Every instinct screamed at them to turn back, but retreat was no longer an option. The team advanced cautiously, scanning for traps or hidden defenders. Their scanners detected fluctuating energy signatures emanating from deeper within the structure, suggesting the core's defenses were primed and ready. Whatever lay ahead, it would demand everything they had left. Inside the central hub, reality bent and warped. The interior resembled a cavernous chamber filled with luminous stalactites and stalagmites, their surfaces rippling with waves of light. Strange hums and clicks echoed through the space, creating an unsettling symphony that seemed almost sentient. In the center stood a massive orb suspended in midair, its surface crackling with energy. This, they realized, was the heart of the planetary organism, the source of its intelligence and control. Approaching the orb required navigating a labyrinth of shifting pathways and treacherous terrain. The floor beneath them quaked intermittently, threatening to send them plummeting into abyssal chasms. Glowing spores floated lazily in the air, brushing against exposed skin and causing violent allergic reactions. Every breath felt heavier, laden with toxins that clouded judgment and sapped strength. Despite the hazards, they pressed onward, guided by sheer determination. The orb pulsed rhythmically, as if aware of their presence. It exuded an aura of immense power, both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Disabling it would mean severing the connection between the organism's consciousness and its physical extensions. But doing so risked triggering a catastrophic feedback loop, one that could obliterate everything within miles. Their final approach was interrupted by a wave of biological constructs, hybrid creatures made of plant and animal tissue fused together. These abominations attacked relentlessly, forcing the team to fight for every inch of ground. Plasma rifles overheated, knives dulled, and bodies faltered under the strain. Yet, inch by bloody inch, they closed the distance to the orb. When they finally reached it, the engineer hesitated, his hands trembling as he prepared the EMP device. One wrong move could doom them all, or worse, awaken the organism fully. Taking a deep breath, he activated the device, watching as the orb's pulsation slowed momentarily before flaring violently. Time seemed to freeze as the chamber erupted into chaos. Time was running out. The team's condition deteriorated rapidly, wounds festered, supplies ran critically low, and exhaustion blurred the line between courage and recklessness. Yet, amid the chaos, a grim consensus formed. To disable the orb, someone would need to stay behind and manually activate the EMP device, a suicide mission disguised as heroism. The decision weighed heavily on everyone. No words were spoken, but the unspoken understanding hung thick in the air. One by one, they volunteered, only to be met with firm refusals from their comrades. Finally, the engineer stepped forward, his expression resolute. He was the most qualified to handle the delicate task, and he knew it. With quiet dignity, he accepted his fate, vowing to buy the others enough time to escape. Tears welled in their eyes as they prepared to leave him behind. There was no room for sentimentality, no time for goodbyes. Survival depended on speed and precision. As the rest of the team retreated, the engineer set to work, his hands steady despite the trembling in his legs. He activated the EMP device, watching as the orb's pulsation slowed momentarily before flaring violently. His final act would either save his friends or doom them all. The explosion rocked the chamber, sending shockwaves rippling outward. The engineer's silhouette disappeared in the blinding light, his sacrifice etched forever into the memories of those who escaped. Outside, the surviving members sprinted toward freedom, their hearts heavy but resolute. The explosion rocked the core, sending shockwaves rippling through the chamber. The remaining team members sprinted toward the exit, dodging falling debris and collapsing pathways. Behind them, the orb convulsed wildly, its light flickering erratically as if caught in a death throes. The very fabric of the environment seemed to unravel, plants shriveling and animals fleeing in terror. Reaching the surface felt like emerging from the depths of hell. The forest outside was eerily silent, the usual cacophony of life replaced by an oppressive stillness. The neural network's influence had waned, leaving the ecosystem disoriented and fragmented. For now, at least, the immediate threat had subsided. But there was no time to celebrate. Their ship lay kilometers away, and the planet's retaliation might not be over. Each step back towards safety was fraught with uncertainty. Fatigue pulled at their limbs, and guilt gnawed at their hearts. They had survived, but at what cost? The journey back was a blur of exhaustion and paranoia. Every rustle of leaves or distant growl sent adrenaline coursing through their veins, even though the once aggressive flora and fauna now seemed dormant. The biologists speculated that disabling the central hub had temporarily disrupted the planetary organism's control, but none of them trusted this reprieve to last. As they trudged onward, the weight of their losses pressed heavily on them. The engineers' sacrifice loomed large in their minds, a constant reminder of the price they'd paid for survival. Yet, despite the grief, a fragile sense of camaraderie returned. They shared quiet moments of solidarity, offering support to one another without words, simply through shared glances and gestures. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep them moving forward. Reaching the ship was bittersweet. Repairs progressed slowly, hampered by exhaustion and grief. Memories of their fallen comrades haunted them, their sacrifices a constant reminder of the cost of survival. Conversations were sparse, punctuated by long stretches of silence as they grappled with survivor's guilt. Yet, amidst the sorrow, a glimmer of redemption emerged. Data collected during their ordeal revealed critical insights into PX-427's biology and behavior. Their findings could help future missions avoid similar catastrophes or unlock new possibilities for coexistence with alien ecosystems. Though marred by tragedy, their journey had not been in vain. The biologists spent hours analyzing samples taken from the planet, piecing together the intricate web of connections that governed its ecosystem. She discovered evidence suggesting that the planetary organism operated on a form of collective consciousness, akin to a hive mind but far more complex. This revelation raised profound questions about the nature of intelligence and sentience, not just on PX-427, but across the universe. Meanwhile, the combat specialist reflected on the lessons learned about resilience and adaptability. He realized that their success or failure had hinged not just on technology or strategy, but on their ability to work together under unimaginable pressure. Trust, communication, and mutual reliance had proven as vital as any weapon or tool. As repairs neared completion, they took a moment to reflect. PX-427 had taught them humility, resilience, and the importance of respecting boundaries, even those imposed by worlds beyond their understanding. It was a lesson etched into their souls, one they vowed never to forget. They also acknowledged the moral ambiguity of their actions. By disabling the central hub, they had effectively crippled an entire ecosystem, an act of violence against a world that had merely acted according to its nature. Was their survival worth the destruction they had wrought? The question lingered unanswered, a burden they would carry with them forever. With engines roaring to life, the ship ascended into the sky, leaving behind the hostile beauty of PX-427. Below, the planet shimmered under twin suns, its secrets buried beneath layers of vibrant foliage and untamed wilderness. For the survivors, it was a place of nightmares, but also of wonder. Back aboard the vessel, they shared a solemn promise to honor their lost comrades by sharing their story. Humanity needed to know about PX-427, not as a conquerable frontier, but as a testament to nature's boundless complexity and ferocity. Their experience would serve as a cautionary tale, urging explorers to tread lightly and respect the unknown. During the voyage home, they compiled detailed reports, documenting every aspect of their encounter with the alien planet. These records included not only scientific data but also personal reflections on the emotional toll of their mission. They hoped that future generations would learn from their mistakes and approach interstellar exploration with greater wisdom and caution. As stars streaked past the viewport, the team gazed outward, their hearts heavy but hopeful. They had survived against impossible odds, forged by fire and tempered by loss. And though scars remained, they carried with them a renewed sense of purpose. In the end, PX for 27 had changed them irrevocably. It had stripped away their illusions of invincibility, forcing them to confront their own fragility and mortality. But it had also shown them the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity to endure, adapt, and persevere in the face of overwhelming adversity.